Hello viewer. Well, I've just got here. The last time I was here a month ago, I sprayed almost the entire garden with a herbicide, and I'm hoping that it's nice and brown and brittle so that I can strim it, scythe it, gather it, clear the ground, because in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully, the big digger man is going to come and start reshaping the garden. We're going to probably do a two-step process. Do the garden and the trench around the back of the house first, and then later on, possibly later this year, probably beginning of 2026, he'll come and do the septic tank and the soakaway field and the pump up to it. So it'll be a two-step, probably. But if he can do the garden bit in late September, that'd be marvellous. So I'll take you outside, and you and me both can have a look at the garden and see how much of the greenery has been killed. Let's have a look. Now, just bashed my head on the top of the door. There we go. This bit, where I had been trying to harvest stone from this wall, not very successfully, this was all overgrown. That bit up the top there was very, very green, so that's actually been killed quite well. That's rather gratifying. These steps were covered with brambles and nettles, so that's quite nice to see that it's relatively clear. And as we look over here, it's quite flat to the ground, so that's excellent. There is still a lot of fresh growth here, which is annoying, but I guess I will extend the legs of the tripod, stand you up, and I'll go and get the strimmer and see what I can do to raise this to the ground as well. Maybe when I've torn some of it down, I might just scoop it all up and put it on the compost pile up the end there. So since it's all sort of like mush, I might as well try and keep it and reduce it into something that we can use. This particular weed killer, it has a specific life, I suppose, a functional life of only about sort of 3 to 4 weeks. So once you've sprayed it on, it kills and kills and kills for a short amount of time, and then you can replant. It's actually made specifically for farmers to use in amongst crops. So hopefully that means that if we use this stuff or compost it down, it'll actually have some benefit to the ground. As per usual, when we get back down to ground level, you can discover these little things like bits of stone sticking out of the ground. So once I've got it down to ground level, I might go around and try and harvest some more stone. But I suspect that when the big digger comes in and starts scraping everything around, we'll find even more. Anyway, on we go. Well, unsurprisingly, it doesn't really want to run properly, so I'm just going to change the filament in it, which is broken, so I'll pop that back through the holes. Probably let it run for 5 or 10 minutes to try and warm up. Maybe it'll work properly then. In the meantime, I might go and get the scythe. I quite like that. Back in a minute. It has fuel. I let it run and warm up, and it still just died on me. I think these things hate me. Fortunately, I have two. So I'm now going to put this one inside and go and be frustrated by the other one. Let's see what happens. All right. Switch it to on. Pump the little button, bubble. So I'm pressing the little bubble thing here, which in theory is supposed to prime the engine, supposed to push some fuel through. See if you can hear this squeak. Now to me that means there's a gap in the system. Somewhere there's a little bit of whistling going on, there's a hole. So that one's useless. I'm going to have to take them in and get them serviced. Either that or get me serviced. I think it's back to the scythe, frankly. Which is tiring, but anyway. At least I don't need these for the scythe. Well, seeing as I've given up on the strimmers, I might take you a little bit closer so that you can see the wonderful scything action and the tremendous velocity that I get through this area. I'm lying, of course. You stay here, just watch. See you in a minute. I'm going to have a cup of tea. You're welcome to come along. And then I'm going to sit down, have something, snack to eat. Come on. You have to duck under that door, otherwise you smack your head. So there are the two very shamed strimmers. Ooh. I don't know what to do with those. I'll have to learn how to take them apart, clean them, and make them run properly, because they certainly don't want to run. In the meantime, I'm sorry, viewer. I'm just not built for that sort of manual labour. Oh. I'm quite happy with the relatively casual removal of ceiling pieces and stuff like that, and the slow and gradual building up of ceiling joists and stuff. I'm quite happy to do that in the future, but a scythe, that's more sort of pole dark and muscles, not me. Here we have the Folk by the Oak t-shirt from a couple of years ago. I didn't go this year. I will go next year. Thoroughly recommend it. Very family friendly. Not that I go with my family, but it's lots of age groups. Great fun. One day, nice weather, good music, great fun. I'm back on the blood orange, cranberry, and pomegranate, or whatever it is, tea from Twinings. Very pleasant. You need to rehydrate after exertion. And you also need to put some sugar back in your system. In England, these are known as yum-yums, which is basically a short segment of ring donut, glazed ring donut. This sugary glaze on the outside. What could possibly go wrong? So once I'm replenished, do you think I should go back out and try and scythe again? I'm not so sure. I think I might start raking up whatever I've managed to cut so far and put it onto the compost pile. But it's the, the central area is the bit that the big digger is going to be reshaping. It's the stuff on the sides which he's probably not going to touch. So maybe I'll take the scythe over to the far side of the columbage barn and clear that, because he's not going to touch that, but he will probably drive over it with the big digger. So if I can clear it, that might be a useful thing to do. And if I clear it, maybe it'll reveal some stones that I can harvest. We'll see. When EDF came to reconnect the electricity, they basically just put in one of the new wireless meters and left the rest of the equipment that was here. And the theory is, once they put in the meter, you contact an electrician, and the electrician comes in to connect up the whole of the rest of the house and do all the wiring and bits and pieces. But we haven't got any of the wiring in, but I do need electricity. So I asked the EDF guys, and don't tell anyone, but I connected a couple of sockets together and just had a tail of wire and said, could you hook it up to your meter, please? And they went, yeah, all right. Which maybe they weren't supposed to do, so shh. Anyway, for the last couple of months, I've had this electricity running, so that's allowed me to power all sorts of things like the lights and whatever. But it isn't earthed, which is not clever, not a good idea. So I've been very careful that all the things that I've used are things which are heavily insulated. So, plastic body equipment and the lights and stuff, they only require, they're not earthed generally anyway, because they're all plastic. But tomorrow, in advance of the septic tank going in, we've got an electrician coming in to fit a fuse box and an earth. So the fuse box is the starting point for all of the rest of the electrics, and the earth will be a big safety bonus. And so he'll get that in. He'll probably leave my two sockets where they are. And then, because the fuse box will have a specific fuse for the septic tank pump, as and when we get the septic tank put in, which shouldn't be too long away now, the pump can be connected to the fuse box, and then the official people who come to sign it off will just put a big tick against the box saying electricity, yes. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have official electricity, which will be nice. So let's see, what else? That's about it for the moment. I'll just finish this and then go back to scything, I suppose. Oh, also, Jo is over on this visit, so she'll come over tomorrow to watch the electrics put in, and she'll probably help with the garden, or at the very least she'll direct, which is all right. I think one yum yum is enough. Very sweet. I shall just turn you around and show you the electric area, but maybe tomorrow when it's installed, or the next video when it's installed, maybe then I'll actually talk you through it, because I'll have had a chance to talk to the electrician and see exactly what he plans to do. On we go. So that is that out of focus thing is the electric box, the new one that's cordless, and so they can get your bill reading remotely. These other two pieces were existing from the old system. I have no idea what that one at the top does. This bottom one down here has got a reset button on it, which seems to work. And you can see this cable coming down here to my rather haphazard pair of electric sockets. And they are my electricity, which I plug my lights into or anything else that I need, power chargers, blah, blah, blah. So let's wander outside again and go round to the Colombage barn. You can see the low beam for this doorway that I keep whacking my head on. There's the Colombage barn. And there's Frank and Sabine's house beyond. Well, this all looks pretty dead, which is a good thing. It shows that the weed killer did work for a period of time. Around this side, we've got our gateway, and I think the big digger will come up from the gate up this side and around into the garden to do the scraping and reshaping of this middle area. So you might just about be able to see, but there is a bit of an undulation in the center here where the ground sort of goes and dips. So he's going to do some scraping of this area to level out the whole of that central area. Up over here is where the soakaway bed for the septic tank will go. So once he's done all of his scraping and leveling out, he'll probably leave that for later to dig out, and there'll be a pipe running from the soakaway bed down to that metal lean-to, which underneath that is where the septic tank is going to go. So I think probably we'll go back to the side of the Colombage. it's made a difference. I think maybe I'll have a go at that bit in a second. Another drink, another yum yum, and then back to it. Well, I'm as refreshed as I can be. Strictly speaking, the digger's just going to drive over this, but Carl, big digger man, was saying that the one thing that's important is to get it relatively close to the ground so that when he goes along with his spray paint to identify areas that need to be lowered, raised, whatever, if it's bushes like this, he can't see the spray paint, so he wants it close to the ground so he can spray paint areas, and then he knows what to do. When he's up in his digger, he can see the lines. So I'm going to try and cut that down a little bit, and you can see a clump over there. That was the first of the apple trees that fell over in the storm. Took the trunk away. You remember I may have showed you the trunk with a hole right at the center, but that's all the branches. So strictly speaking, it would be sensible if I could get those branches out of the way so that Carl can do his work. But the branches are all intertwined and grown over with grass, brambles, and they're basically tying it to the ground. So it may not be easy. Gloves on we go. $30 years of brambles, bindweed, and it's just slices me up. Oh dear. I'm going to go and get rid of these 2 bags. That's flat enough to do spraying on, to mark out. Then I'm going to go and grab some lunch, come back and carry on.